The next area up for repair will be this area right here. That's completely missing here, and it rolls up onto this shelf area here where you have these two holes and these two holes. That's where the seat track mounts to. The brace underneath the pan right here attaches to this cross member, comes back and attaches to this cross member, and that's what gives the seat track some structural support. The two cross members and the brace for the seat track are in excellent condition. So this will be the first patch, but I'll also make a patch from here, this area, back to the transmission tunnel, and they'll kind of go in at the same time. You can see more of the extent of the rot in this area here. So the first thing I'll do is run an orbital sander over this surface here and over this surface here, and I'll look for the spot welds that I'll need to cut loose to remove those sections. So you can see where the spot welds are now. So I'm just going to mark them. There's another one here. And there's probably one here and in there, but this metal here is so deteriorated. Once I start removing these spot welds, I can probably just tear that out. So you can see after I run the sander over, I've got good metal back to in this area here. And this is all badly pitted, rotted away here. And it also sort of disguises the spot welds, but the metal is in bad shape. So I can probably just, once I remove these spot welds that I can see, I can probably just work it and tear it loose right in here. I'll figure it out. I believe this piece is going to lay down, roll over, and hit the top of this piece, and that'll probably get welded right here. So this piece will go in first. When I made this piece, it's too wide right here. I've got to trim this area off. So it's got to lay down flat right here where this seat deck steps down to this level. And also left this flange a little tall. This old flange on the outer rocker panel is the correct height that it needs to be. And I'm going to go ahead and trim this down. I might not trim it down all the way, but I'm going to take about half of it off just to get it out of the way. Another thing is, when I made this piece, I'm not sure why I put this radius right here. I don't remember. But I don't know how I came up with that, but I think that this radius is super tight, like about a 3/4 of an inch radius. Because if you look at the other side, the driver's side, you can see that this is a pretty tight radius. I would say it's about a 3/4 of an inch radius, maybe 1 inch. And the back side looks the same. It sort of comes back and is sort of squared off. I don't know what this used to look like in the back. Looks like it probably just rolled down and then became the horizontal section of the passenger floorboard. So I'm just going to add a little bit of metal back here, right here, and make this a tighter radius. I guess try to match the other side. And on the back right here, I'm not going to trim any of this off yet. Because first of all, I got to locate the front, the radius section in the proper place. But on the back here, it looks like this probably just rolled down here like the other side and just leveled off horizontal and became the passenger side floorboard. So I'm going to leave as much as I can here and try to incorporate a little bit of this in where it rolls down onto the back floorboard. Making sure I'm tight against the rocker panel flange. There's a few things going on here now. So this panel butts into the panel that I've already welded in. Then this tighter radius that I made comes around here and needs to line up with this. This surface and this surface should line up. And this panel right now, you can't really tell it on the video, but it's kind of going uphill a little bit because this extra metal I left is holding it up off of the seat deck right there. And when I cut the old floor out, this is going to move back a thickness of the metal. So I got to make sure that this is in place, moved back a thickness of the metal, and that this line lines up with this line, and we still stay butted here. Now I've got to cut some of this metal out in order to get this to lay down, and I am just about ready to remove this metal here as well. I'll start, I think, drilling out the spot welds now. And so I just tacked this piece in two places to this piece, and now I'll do a little cut and butt and join these two pieces together. When I remove this metal, this piece will go down a little bit more and be a little more flush right here. So with the panel in place, I trace the edge with a Sharpie, and before I start drilling these spot welds out and trying to pry this piece of metal off, I'm going to go ahead and put a zip cut on that Sharpie line to separate them, so that when I'm trying to peel this piece up, I don't damage this area right here. So I can also now go ahead and cut this area off here. And this is sort of what I was using to locate this panel. But I need to cut this out of the way so I can get my panel into place where it should be. All right, I got a nice gap here and it's flush. And once I plug weld this down to the flange of the inner rocker panel, this is flush here. I still have to trim this flange, and I got to bend this little tab over to complete this radius. So I'm fairly confident that the front of this panel is where it belongs, because this right here lines up with this right here. So on the front, I think it's good. But on the back is a different story, because I don't know where to make the corner, where to put a radius corner right here. I don't know exactly where, because I have nothing here to go by. The only thing that gives me somewhat of a clue is right here. It starts to turn down, and it's heading down to the horizontal section of the passenger floor pan. So if I go over to the driver's side, it's not much better, except this does seem like it's an intentional radius right here. So I'm thinking it's safe to say this is the corner, and there's a radius right here where it rolls over, and except for this little this little kink right here, it looks like it rolls over from here and goes down to where it levels off. And the cross member here appears to be symmetrical to the other side. So I'm going to assume that this is the corner and that the passenger side should be somewhat symmetrical to this side. And also, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but this shape right here begins right about here, about 15 inches from the outer rocker flange. And I've got the same thing on the passenger side. So I think to make the corner symmetrical to the driver's side is probably correct, or close enough. Okay, so if I come square 90 degrees off the flange of the outer rocker panel, and I touch the square to the cross member right here at about the 1.5 inch mark, it looks like the seat platform begins to radius and roll over towards the horizontal at about 1/2 inch forward of this line right here. So that's what I'm going to bring over to the passenger side. So with the panel clecoed where it belongs, and the square, same as I had it on the other side, I'm going to mark about 1/2 inch. And that, I'll bring this line over here, and that's going to be where I locate the corner. All right, little change of plans. I was gonna try to use some of this metal for sloping down onto the passenger side floor. However, I don't think I can do that because I've got to put the radius corner here. So then this step right here seems to go back to here. But I believe this step goes back, but I think it's cut straight off, and this planes onto this area here, I think. Kind of making it up as I go because I don't know what it looked like before. So I'm going to have to mess around with that. Thinking I'm going to make a piece here, just like I did there, to make that corner. Chopping this off and cutting this off, and then continuing this back to here. That, I believe, is the game plan. All right, so this is the corner I need. So this radius right here belongs on this line right here. But I left some length here because I'm not gonna cut this on this line. I'm gonna cut it back here. And so I'll cut it back here and graft this piece, weld this piece onto here. I'm gonna section it this way. I'm gonna section it down to here, but then I'm gonna cut it along this line right here because this area here I wanna save because it's gonna continue back this way. Actually, this channel or shape goes further back. It doesn't just stop here. It goes underneath this reinforcement plate into this area back here. This reinforcement plate is there's a body mount right under it. These are body bolts. So there's a body mount directly underneath this. So I'm going to go ahead, I think, and make a piece of this channel, I'll call it. I'm going to jump back up here and keep going with this, but I just want to go ahead and have this piece made. I'll make a couple of them, one for each side. And I mark my approximate location for the radiuses and make a test piece out of a small piece of scrap first. Pretty close. Now before I put this panel in, I've got to locate the holes for the seat track mounts, which are here and here and here and here. You can only get to this one from underneath, so I've got to do it from up top here. All right, so there's the hole reliefs for the seat track. They're oversized, but that's how the factory did theirs too. All right, now I'll section this piece in. Now I'll just trim that to fit. I'm going to move this oversized hole and center it over this hole a little bit better. Okay, that's better. Now I'll go ahead and drill the holes in this area right here so I can plug weld this area to the flange of the inner rocker panel below. It'll eventually get plug welded to the outer rocker flange right here, but not right now because the outer rocker has to be completely replaced. And I'll go ahead and drill holes in these areas right here so I can plug weld the panel to the seat track support below. And the rear passenger floor will plane over onto the panel and intersect it right in here somewhere. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like yet, so I'm just going to leave this area right here. I'll cut that off later. Okay, there we go with all the holes drilled, and the panel is ready to be plug welded into place. And then of course this seam will get butt welded to the original metal. I think I mentioned in the beginning of this video that this panel is going to go in sort of at the same time as this panel right here. So I'm going to go ahead and start fitting this panel right here, and I'm going to end this video now.